Okay, so if you're struggling to understand this excerpt, let me break it down for you kind of sentence by sentence and see if that helps. So we start off with this first sentence here. It's kind of a doozy, right? Long sentence. So they say, they're talking about the Pitx-1 sequence. And really what they're saying in this sentence is they took marine and benthic, which is the freshwater fish. So fish with pelvises and fish without pelvises, to check whether the fish populations that are lacking a pelvis have changes in the gene itself, the coding regions of Pitx-1. And to do that, they first kind of mapped the gene itself and looked for the exons and introns of the gene, and then sequenced the whole gene in both populations, in both those with a pelvis and those without. So now they have the whole gene and they know all the parts of the gene, which parts are coding and which parts are not. So then they look at the 3 of the exons of the Pitx-1 gene. So these are the 3 coding parts of the gene, and they notice that they are very similar, extensively similar to the amino acid sequence that would be produced in other kinds of animals, like birds and fish and mammals. And that makes sense. If Pitx-1 is a really important regulatory gene for controlling fundamental development of animals, then we would expect to see that gene be basically identical in all kinds of animals. Okay, so they've found the gene. They've found that it's almost the same gene everywhere they look in other kinds of animals, as well as in the different fish that have pelvises and don't have pelvises. So then we really kind of get to the meat of it here, where they say no coding region mutations were found that would alter the gene product. So what does that mean? That basically means that in the coding section of the Pitx-1 gene, there are no differences between the benthic or freshwater fish and the marine fish. So in the gene, in the part of the gene that actually creates a protein, nothing is different about those genes. And yet, some of the fish have pelvises and some don't. Okay? So what does that mean? That helps the biologist understand. The last sentence here, by the way, is really more of just kind of further confirmation of what was said in the sentence before, that they're spliced together correctly, that the exons are in fact intact and they're assembled. So there's no explanation for why the pelvis does or doesn't form that can be explained by the coding region of the Pitx-1 gene. And this led them to kind of make the decision, well, so it's the Pitx-1 gene, but it's not the coding region of the gene. So it must be something that is non-coding about the gene, something that doesn't actually contain the information, but somehow turns this gene on and off that is so important in all kinds of different animals.